thought he was mine, my fiancé, but then I saw her, and he smelled at her, not me.
I can explain.
Explain? You chose her over me? Over us? I could have cried, begged, but I didn't. Because someone else saw my worth.
And then, he appeared. Not him. Someone new. Someone who could change everything.
I still remember the day he proposed. It was a warm Saturday afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the big windows of his apartment. He got down on one knee, holding a tiny velvet box. I thought I was dreaming. "Will you marry me?" he asked, his voice shaking a little. Of course, I said yes. I loved him. I trusted him. I imagined our life together. Our own little home, cozy weekends, lazy mornings, and future trips. It all seemed perfect. The first few weeks after the engagement were magical. He couldn't keep his hands off me. His friends called us the perfect couple. Even his mom, bless her, kept texting me, saying how thrilled she was that her son finally found someone so sweet and responsible. I felt like I had truly entered a fairy tale. Then cracks started to show. It was subtle at first. He'd text me less. He'd cancel plans, saying work was hectic. And he always seemed distracted. I tried not to worry. I told myself people have stressful lives. Maybe I was overthinking. But one evening, the truth hit me like a freight train. I walked into his apartment after work, carrying groceries. I was humming, excited to tell him about a promotion I had just received. But the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I called out his name. No answer. I put down the bags and started looking around. Then I heard it. Sniffling. Soft crying from his bedroom. My heart sank. I slowly opened the door and froze. There she was. His ex. The woman he had sworn was just a memory. She was sitting on his bed, tears streaking her makeup. And he was holding her hand, rubbing her back, whispering, "It's okay. I'm here now. Everything's fine." Everything in me shattered. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, watching, feeling invisible. When he finally saw me, his eyes went wide.
He stammered.
I can explain. I cut him off.
No, don't.
Just don't. I turned and walked out. I didn't grab my things. I didn't look back. The betrayal was sharp, like a knife. But more than anger, I felt stunned, disappointed, heartbroken, and above all, humiliated. That night, I sat in my car for hours. The city lights blurred as I tried to make sense of it. How could someone I trusted so much choose someone else? Someone who had hurt him before. Someone he claimed he had moved on from? I wanted answers. I wanted closure. But deep down, I knew I didn't deserve them. Not from him. Not from her. So I did what I always did. I held my head high. I refused to cry over someone who couldn't value me. Little did I know someone else had noticed. The next day, I got an unexpected call. It was his mother. The woman everyone called the queen of the city because of her wealth, influence, and sharp intuition. She didn't waste words. "I know what happened yesterday," she said, her voice calm, not a hint of anger. "And I want you to know, I see you. I see how strong you are." I was stunned. "Mrs.?" I stuttered. "Call me Eleanor," she interrupted, a faint smile in her voice. "And listen, don't waste another second crying over someone who doesn't deserve you. You have qualities my son doesn't deserve." Her words were shocking, empowering, almost like a warm embrace over the wound he had left behind. I listened, barely believing it. Eleanor continued, "I've always liked you. I've always seen how thoughtful, strong, and clever you are. My son, well, he's about to learn what it means to lose someone truly remarkable." I didn't know what to say. I felt a strange mix of anger, disbelief, and validation. And that was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor started inviting me to events I never imagined attending. Gala dinners, charity balls, even private yacht parties. Everywhere I went, she made me feel seen, important, even glamorous. And all the while she made it clear she was choosing me. Her support was more than financial. She helped me find my voice again, my confidence, my pride. It was as if she was saying, "You don't need him. You're worth more than you realize." Meanwhile, news of his messy choice spread. His ex? She cried, pleaded, tried to pull him back. But he realized he had lost me forever. And me? I had never felt more alive. By the end of part 1, I understood one thing clearly. Life had a strange way of balancing things. While he chose tears and old memories, I had gained empowerment, admiration, and an unexpected ally. Little did I know the next step in this story would change everything. After that first shocking encounter, I didn't hear much from him. Not directly, anyway. He tried calling a few times, texting even more, but I ignored everything. It wasn't easy. Every phone buzz made my stomach twist. Every notification made me think it might be him. But I had made a choice. I would not beg. I would not plead. Instead, I focused on myself. Eleanor, his mother, became an unexpected guide. She called me the next day and said, "Come with me. I have something to show you." I was hesitant.
I didn't know what to expect.
But curiosity won. When I arrived at her mansion, she greeted me with her usual calm, confident smile. "I've arranged something special for you," she said, leading me into a vast, sunlit hall filled with people I didn't recognize. Socialites, artists, business leaders. Everyone was laughing, talking, sipping champagne. And I felt out of place. Eleanor noticed. She leaned close and whispered, "Good. Feeling a little out of your depth means you're about to grow." I laughed nervously. "I feel like I'm walking into someone else's world."
"Exactly," she said.
"And soon, it will be your world too.
"You just don't know it yet."
The night unfolded like a movie. Eleanor introduced me to influential people, made me feel seen and important. She gave me confidence I didn't know I had. The power of being recognized, truly appreciated. It was intoxicating. And then he showed up. Yes, my ex-fiancé. The one who had chosen tears over me. I saw him across the room, trying to look composed, but I noticed his eyes flicker toward me more than once. He looked shocked, even a little unsettled. Eleanor noticed too. She gave me a subtle, almost imperceptible nod. A silent message. "This is your moment." I smiled politely at him, calm, poised, unbothered. Inside, a tiny spark of satisfaction ignited. This was the first time he saw me not as the girl who would cry over him, but as someone confident, radiant, and completely untouchable. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor continued to involve me in her world. Gala events, charity fundraisers, elegant lunches. I began to realize that while he had chosen someone else, I was gaining something far more valuable: independence, dignity, and recognition. Even better, I discovered talents I had ignored. Eleanor encouraged me to start a small consulting project, helping young professionals refine their social presence and image. I had no idea I had a knack for it, but soon people were asking me for advice. Clients, friends, even strangers at events. They listened to me. They respected me. And through all this, Eleanor always had one eye on him. She knew he was watching, knew he was realizing that what he had lost was irreplaceable. It was subtle, but the shift in power was clear. I didn't have to do anything dramatic. I just showed up. I smiled. I grew. I became magnetic. Then came the first moment that truly hit me. I was at one of Eleanor's charity luncheons. The room buzzed with chatter. He walked in, looking sharp, tailored suit, hair perfectly styled, but I noticed something. He glanced around nervously, like he wasn't sure where I was. Then he saw me. His eyes widened. He tried to look casual, but it was too late. I was already radiant in a soft pastel dress, confidence radiating from every movement. People whispered as I walked by, introduced by Eleanor herself. And for the first time he seemed small and regretful. Later that evening, Eleanor and I shared a quiet moment on her balcony. The city lights shimmered below. She poured me a glass of wine and smiled. "You see," she said gently, "you're not chasing him. He's chasing you. But more importantly, you're chasing your own life. And nothing he does can touch that. I laughed softly, realizing how true it was. All the heartbreak, all the betrayal, it had pushed me towards something greater. I was learning that sometimes the universe doesn't just take things away. Sometimes it gives you better things in return. The next morning, I received a text. Not from him. Not from the ex. It was Eleanor. Dinner tonight. I have someone I want you to meet. Someone who will understand your worth. My heart skipped. She never wasted time. And something told me this wasn't just a business connection. That evening, I arrived at a quaint, softly lit restaurant. Eleanor was already there, seated at a corner table. She gestured for me to sit. Tonight, she said, sipping her wine, you'll meet someone special. Someone who sees you as more than just a girlfriend, more than just a fiancé. Someone who sees you as remarkable. I felt a strange mix of nerves and excitement. I didn't know what to expect. And then he arrived. Not my ex, not the one who had chosen tears over me. A stranger. A man with kind eyes, an easy smile, and a warmth I hadn't felt in months. He introduced himself politely, and as we talked, I realized something important. He was genuinely interested in me. Not my past, not my title, not my connection to anyone else. Just me. For the first time since the heartbreak, I laughed freely. I felt light.
Alive.
By the end of the evening, I understood the lesson Eleanor had been teaching me all along. Sometimes, the heartbreak you think will destroy you actually prepares you for someone who truly deserves you. And while he, the ex-fiancé, watched from a distance, I had begun to step into a world where I was chosen, respected, and admired. By now, I had settled into a rhythm I never expected. Days were filled with Eleanor's mentorship, social events, and my small consulting projects. Nights were calmer, sometimes spent reading on her balcony, watching the city lights flicker. I was slowly rediscovering myself. But life rarely lets a story run smoothly. It started with whispers. I noticed it first at one of Eleanor's charity events. My ex-fiancé arrived with his ex, trying to look like a happy couple. He smiled at people, laughed at jokes that weren't funny, and glanced my way, too often for comfort. I caught him watching me, his face a mixture of regret, longing, and something desperate. I didn't let it bother me. I held my head high, smiled politely at everyone, and focused on my conversations. But whispers began to follow me. She's Eleanor's favorite now, one guest murmured. He looks different around her. Different? I thought. I understood. He was beginning to realize he had made the wrong choice. And then it got worse. The ex-fiancé started showing up at places I frequented, restaurants, coffee shops, even a boutique where I shopped. At first, it was subtle. A glance. A hesitant wave. But then it became bold. Messages on social media, comments on posts, even attempting calls. I ignored everything. I refused to give him that satisfaction. Meanwhile, my connection with the new man Eleanor had introduced deepened. His name was Nathan. He was calm, intelligent, funny, and attentive, not in a flashy way, but in a way that made me feel seen. Every time we met, I felt normal again. Safe.
Happy.
It was strange at first. After all the heartbreak, I hadn't expected to feel that kind of peace so quickly. But Nathan was different. He didn't ask for explanations about my past. He didn't judge. He just listened, laughed, and cared. Meanwhile, Eleanor remained my anchor. She noticed everything. She leaned in one day, sipping her tea as we looked out over the city skyline. "You're glowing," she said softly. "Not because of him, not because of anyone else, but because of who you're becoming. Don't let anyone steal that." Her words felt like armor. And then came the confrontation. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was attending a gallery opening Eleanor had invited me to. The room buzzed with art lovers and socialites. I was speaking with a few clients when I saw them, my ex-fiancé and his ex, standing near a sculpture, looking tense. He approached. I braced myself, ready to stay polite and composed. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice low. I shook my head.
No.
I don't think we need to. He looked frustrated, desperate even.
I
made a mistake. I chose her over you, but I can fix this. Please, just give me a chance to explain. I felt the old pull, the one that made me consider forgiveness before, but I shook my head. You don't get to choose that for me. You made your choice. She was crying, and you went to her. I don't belong in a story like that anymore. His face fell. I saw the regret. I saw the realization that I was gone. But I didn't feel pity. I felt empowered. Nathan appeared behind me quietly. He placed a hand on my back, just lightly, enough for me to feel his presence. The calm warmth of him reminded me why I had moved on. You're with him? My ex asked, glancing at Nathan. I smiled softly, shaking my head.
No.
I'm with me. And for now, that's enough. The rest of the evening, I felt lighter. I mingled, laughed, and shared stories with Nathan and Eleanor's guests. Every glance from my ex was a reminder of what I had gained: strength, confidence, and dignity. Over the next few days, things escalated. The ex-fiancé began to send me more messages, trying to apologize, trying to win me back. But Eleanor's influence kept me grounded. She reminded me, you are not a consolation prize. You are the reward. Nathan, too, became more involved. He started joining me for small projects, offering advice, supporting me quietly. There was no rush, no drama, just steady, consistent respect. I realized then that this was the kind of relationship I deserved. Not tears and regret. Not selfish choices. But trust, patience, and kindness. And slowly the city began to notice. People whispered about me at events. The woman who had been heartbroken, yet now stood stronger, more radiant than ever. Some were envious, some admiring, but most were intrigued. Then came the tipping point. It was an exclusive charity gala, Eleanor's biggest event of the year. I arrived, glowing in a soft champagne dress, hair styled elegantly. The ex-fiancé and his ex were there, and I could see immediately the tension. He wanted to approach me, but she clung to him nervously. Eleanor guided me through the crowd, introduced me to influential leaders, and, at one point, whispered, "Watch this." Across the room, my ex's ex tried to create a scene, loudly demanding his attention, acting as if she still controlled him. But he looked torn, and I could see it. The moment he truly realized, he had lost me forever. And the best part? I didn't have to do anything. I didn't fight, argue, or cry. I just existed, confident, radiant, composed. That was enough to tip the scales. Nathan, standing beside me, whispered, "You're incredible." I smiled, feeling warmth that wasn't about revenge. It was about self-worth. For the first time in months, I felt complete. By now, I had fully stepped into a new world, one I never imagined for myself. Eleanor's guidance, Nathan's quiet support, and my own growing confidence had changed me. I was no longer the girl who cried alone over a man who didn't deserve me. I had become visible, unstoppable, chosen. It all came to a head one Thursday evening. Eleanor had invited me to a private family gathering, a celebration for a new art acquisition she had made. I was nervous, of course. This wasn't a public event. It was intimate, exclusive, and packed with influential people. I arrived in a soft, blush-colored dress that flattered my figure without screaming for attention. My hair was loose, softly curled, and my makeup subtle but polished. Eleanor met me at the entrance with a smile. "Tonight," she said, "you show them who you really are." I nodded, understanding. This wasn't about my ex. This wasn't about proving anything to him.
This was about me.
And, of course, he showed up. My ex-fiancé and his ex walked in together, attempting to look confident. But the moment they saw me, their composure faltered. I felt the familiar pang of satisfaction, but it wasn't revenge. It was validation. Finally, after months of heartbreak, they were seeing the woman I had become. Throughout the evening, I mingled effortlessly, guided by Eleanor's subtle cues. She introduced me to some of the most influential people in the room, and every interaction reinforced something I had begun to feel deeply: I didn't need anyone to define me.
I was already enough.
Nathan appeared shortly after, arriving quietly. His presence grounded me. He didn't steal attention from me or try to compete with the room. Instead, he complimented me, standing beside me, engaging with people gracefully, and smiling at me in a way that made my heart flutter. At one point, Eleanor leaned in and whispered, "Watch carefully." Across the room, my ex-fiancé's ex was trying to create another scene, attempting to pull him away, seeking attention. But this time, he didn't respond the way he used to. He looked at me and then at her and finally walked away, defeated. It was subtle, yet perfect. A final recognition that he had lost something truly remarkable. And then something unexpected happened. Eleanor, standing beside me, whispered, "You're ready." I looked at her, confused. Ready for what? She smiled knowingly. To be officially chosen. Not by him, not by anyone else. By someone who truly sees your worth. Nathan stepped closer, a nervous but sincere smile on his face. "I know we haven't known each other for long," he said softly, "but I can't imagine spending my time with anyone else. I want to be with you. Fully, completely.
If you'll have me."
My heart raced. This wasn't the frantic, desperate love of my past. This was steady, honest, and real. I looked into his eyes and saw truth, respect, and kindness, the things I had been craving without even realizing it. I began, smiling, my voice steady. "I choose me, and I choose you." His face lit up, relief and happiness flooding his features. We held hands across the table, and for the first time in months, I felt fully safe, fully seen, fully loved. Meanwhile, Eleanor watched with that faint, knowing smile. She had orchestrated more than events or introductions. She had guided me to realize my own power, to see that my worth was never defined by someone else's choices. The ex-fiancé? He left shortly after. His ex tried to cling to him, but it was too late. He had lost the chance to hurt me, and the sight of me, radiant and chosen, made it clear why. Over the next few weeks, Nathan and I spent more time together, building a relationship that was slow, steady, and real. He never pressured me. He never demanded my attention. He simply showed up, consistent and kind. And as we walked together through the city one evening, hand in hand, I realized something profound. Sometimes, heartbreak isn't the end of a story. Sometimes, it's the beginning of a better one. Eleanor remained a constant presence in my life. Not just as a mentor, but as someone who had become a trusted guide and friend. She reminded me often, "You are not a consolation prize. You are the reward. Always remember that." The weeks that followed Eleanor's grand family gathering were surreal. I had stepped fully into a world I hadn't known existed, a world where I was appreciated, noticed, and truly seen. My confidence had grown in ways I didn't expect. Every event, every meeting, every conversation reminded me that I wasn't just someone's backup or a consolation. I was remarkable, and I finally knew it. Nathan had become my anchor. He wasn't dramatic. He didn't compete for attention. He simply showed up, consistently, with warmth and kindness. His presence was grounding. And slowly, the quiet comfort of our connection began to bloom into something beautiful, real, and entirely satisfying. But life, as always, had one final test. It came in the form of a business gala, one of Eleanor's largest annual events. The kind of event where the city's elite mingled, whispered, and judged. I had attended many before, but this time, I felt a quiet power in walking through the doors. I was fully myself. As I entered, I noticed immediately they were there. My ex-fiancé and his ex. He looked sharp in his tailored suit, but I could see the tension in his jaw, the uncertainty in his eyes. She clung to him nervously, trying desperately to command the room, to command him. But I didn't care. Nathan was at my side, calm and confident. He squeezed my hand lightly and whispered, "You're incredible." I smiled, letting his words sink in. And then the moment came. Across the room, my ex attempted to approach me. His expression was a mixture of regret, desire, and panic. He opened his mouth, as if to say something profound. I stopped him before he could. Calmly,
Confidently.
"You made your choice," I said softly, looking directly into his eyes. "And I made mine."
He faltered.
I could see the regret wash over him. This wasn't just a polite rejection. This was the moment he realized fully that he had lost me forever. And the best part? I wasn't fighting. I wasn't begging. I was standing there, radiant, chosen, unstoppable. That was enough. Eleanor, standing nearby, gave me a subtle nod, a quiet acknowledgement of everything I had become. I had grown from heartbreak into empowerment, from insecurity into radiance. Nathan stepped closer, smiling at me. "I want you," he said softly. "Not because of anything you've been through, not because of what you've lost, but because of who you are. Every day, every choice, every part of you. I choose you." Tears pricked my eyes, not of sadness, but of relief, joy, and fulfillment. This was the love I deserved, the kind of love that made heartbreak fade into memory. I looked at him, my voice steady, my heart open. "I choose me, and I choose you." The crowd around us seemed to blur. It wasn't about anyone else anymore. It wasn't about jealousy, revenge, or social status. It was about being fully seen and fully loved. Meanwhile, my ex-fiancé turned away, defeated. His ex clung to him, but it was too late. He had lost the chance to define my story. The universe, in its own dramatic but fair way, had balanced the scales. The gala continued, but I floated through it with ease. People noticed the difference. Confidence, poise, elegance, yes, these things were visible. But more than that, people noticed something invisible: self-respect, inner strength, and joy. That night, Nathan and I walked out into the quiet streets together. The city lights shimmered on wet pavements, soft music from a nearby cafe drifted into the air, and the cool evening breeze felt like freedom. "I can't believe all of this," I whispered, leaning slightly into him. Nathan smiled. "Believe it. You've earned it. And I'm just here for the journey." It hit me then everything had happened for a reason. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of doubt had led me to this. Not to tears, not to sadness, not to someone who didn't see my worth, but to someone who did. To a life where I was chosen, respected, and loved on my terms. Eleanor appeared quietly beside us. She looked at me and Nathan, her eyes soft but proud. "You see," she said, "this is what happens when you don't settle. When you choose yourself first, the right people, the right opportunities, they find you." I nodded, feeling the full weight of her words. She had been right. Choosing me, choosing my own worth, had changed everything. As we walked away, hand in hand, Nathan leaned down and kissed my forehead softly. "This is just the beginning," he said. I smiled, feeling warmth flood through me. "The beginning of what?" "Everything," he whispered. "Everything we deserve." And in that moment, I knew it was true. I had survived heartbreak, reclaimed my confidence, and found love. Not the desperate, fleeting kind, but the deep, steadfast, real kind. For the first time in my life, I felt unstoppable. I had been chosen by life, by love, and most importantly, by myself.